number of councils have gone bust. How long will it be before Newcastle goes bust?
What we're seeing around the country are councils in financial crisis. Newcastle isn't at that point, at least not yet, because we've taken difficult decisions over a long period of time that have put the council on a proper, secure financial footing. That's meant honest but difficult conversations with our residents, straining every sinew to find ways of protecting services, particularly those that support vulnerable people, and making sure that we continue to campaign against the government's austerity programme. But there's no doubt that councils around the country are increasingly facing breaking point, and unless there's a change of direction over the next few years, Newcastle will be just one of the many councils that's plunged into financial crisis.
You've announced another £60 million of cuts over the next 3 years, 20 million next year. Which are the cuts that pain you the most?
Every cut is really difficult. And after 8 years worth of austerity, 8 years of cuts upon cuts upon cuts, it gets more and more difficult every year. What we've sought to do since 2010 is protect services which support vulnerable people in our city, whether they're vulnerable adults or vulnerable children. Because we think that's not only the legally right thing to do, it's the morally right thing to do. But that's meant difficult decisions about every other area of the council's expenditure. And this year, it's no exception. There are some really difficult proposals in the budget, which I know some people will find really unpalatable. But if we're going to come up with a balanced budget, that's what we have to do. We can't plan to expend more than we have in terms of income. And because of reduced government grant and rising cost pressures that's unfunded, we have no alternative but to put forward this balanced programme that we're consulting on from today.
You've announced plans to charge blue badge holders for parking and at the same time reduce the shoppability scheme. Some people would say that this is an attack on people with disabilities. Is it an attack?
One of the things that people with disabilities tell us time and time again is that actually it's getting to as close as they can to where they want to be that's the most important thing. Having a blue badge doesn't automatically entitle you to free parking. In Newcastle, we've waived that charge for a number of years, but we're going to have to look at that again. But that's going to be part of a wider review of parking across the city, including making sure that we've got disabled bays in the right place where people want to see them. And I think hopefully we can come up with the right balance of making sure that people can get where they need to be at the right time, and hopefully people won't mind paying the same charges that other motorists already pay. And of course, we appreciate that some people with disabilities may have mobility problems, which is why what we're proposing is an extra free hour on top of what people pay for, so they have that little extra time to get back to the car if they need it.
Currently, residents who lose their wheelie bins, their general household and recycling bins, can have them replaced for free by the council. You're proposing introducing a £25 flat rate charge. Is that fair for someone who has their bin stolen?
We're pretty unusual as a council in still providing replacement bins for free. And you've only got to walk up and down virtually any of our back lanes in the city to see the huge numbers of bins that are left out in the back lanes rather than taken back into people's backyards or into their garages. So we want to encourage people to take their bins back in, to look after their bins. And it costs the council, and therefore the council taxpayer, money to replace them. And if people took a little more care and made sure that they looked after their bins, we wouldn't have to pay for that replacement. So we think that this is a fair proposal in the context of everything else that the council's having to do to make sure that we aren't therefore introducing charges for something else which would affect more residents.
Now, Newcastle is one of the UK's fastest growing cities. Its population is increasing as well. What is the council doing to maintain that momentum?
It's really important, despite the huge financial problems that the council faces in terms of our revenue budget and the services that it provides, to make sure that Newcastle is still seen as a city which is open for business, a place of global significance where people want to come and set up business here, grow businesses here, and enjoy the great quality of life that our city has to offer. So alongside the revenue budget that we're consulting on, we're also setting out ambitious proposals for capital investment, which is all part of making sure that we continue to grow more and better jobs in our city, so that future generations will continue to enjoy what Newcastle has to offer, and we can really put Newcastle on the map as a great place to live, work and enjoy yourself.
Since 2010, 1 in 3 jobs at the council have gone. You've announced another 100 jobs will go over the next 3 years. What message do you have for staff who are worried about their jobs, who have bills and mortgages to pay?
The first thing I want to say is a huge thank you to all of the council staff who go on a daily basis above and beyond what's expected of them in terms of delivering for our city and its residents. We have some exceptionally talented people working for the council who choose to work in public services rather than other areas where they might earn more money, and that's, I think, a real tribute to the professionalism of our staff. And as with previous budget rounds, we know there will be some job losses in this budget. But what I can do is give a commitment that we will strain every sinew to try to make sure that nobody is made compulsorily redundant. And we've got a really good track record where people's jobs are affected of helping people to be retrained, be redeployed into other areas and keep a job with the council. It might not be the one they started with, but a job is better than no job at all. And people working for the council have my commitment that we will do everything we can to protect them in that regard.